Hey guys, it's Spacey Sims, and we are back with more Virche Epic Lycoris, continuing Eve's route stuff. Today, we are going to start his emotion section, and we're going to start here with our despair ending. Is that where we... Okay, that's where he burned to death in the flower field. I don't remember the salvation. Is that where we, like, ran away and did we live... Which ending did we live in, like, Anko's cave? Was it that one? Maybe it was that one. But anyway. So the despair ending.
My genetic modification system was out of control. I turned Spacey into a manifestation of the Lycoris, causing death simply by being near other humans. I confronted her in the field of Lycoris Noirs that we had protected for so long. Of all the places I'd find you, I guess fate likes to play games.
I mean, it's not really necessarily after that ending, because that ending was Eve died. So we kind of have to back up a little, to be fair. Because at least in Mathis's despair ending, we were both alive. In Eve's, he was burned to death. So I guess, to be fair for that, things like that, it's like, well, when you're both dead, you're able to back up a little bit and alter it somewhat. Because you can't really continue where he died, and then I thought we did too. We stayed and just burned to death with him or whatever. I don't remember. But anyway, Bird, it's really hard to talk when your whole fucking face is in my mouth. Could you stop?
In the middle of the blazing field of Lycoris Noirs, I felt my heart seize at the sight of the flames that burned my face, all the while watching the toxins consume her body. I won't let her die alone. One step. I won't let her escape. Another step. Never again. I pushed through the storm, fire, and toxins. My love was the only thing that moved me toward the one who despaired over her own existence.
No! Don't do it!
I could hear her
anguished cry. Can't say that in his accent, apparently.
Amid the crackling of flames. But her noble refusal wasn't enough to turn me away. Powerful flames seared my skin and throat, but I suppressed my agony and broke through the last fiery wall. I come for you, dear princess of the Lycorises. Please allow me to stay by your side forever. I know it was a cliche to say so, but it expressed my feelings for her. Just one step more and then I could finally reach her. She was the one and only person in the world I could love with my entire heart. Spacey, even if she sought death, it's okay to wallow in despair as long as she stays by my side until the very end. Perhaps I should have said this to her. Or maybe I should have waited for her reply. Or just maybe there was another option. Just as I was about to take that last step, a red storm enveloped my entire body. It was too late for me to react. I looked into her widened eyes.
No! Ah! I can't scream no and ah. It's just too much for me to scream. But anyway, screaming no and ah. It's the no! Ah! It's just very long. There's a lot of O's in that no.
I was swallowed by crimson flames.
Hot, hot, hot.
My lungs were instantly charred and my skin began to melt. Beyond the pain was an endless heat. Rather than being burned alive, I felt the horrible sensation of melting on the spot.
Okay, this game really fucking, like, Jesus Christ. I know that they don't, like, the original game hated Lucas a lot, but I feel like they hate Eve a lot too. Can we just be real? And I can only imagine how much the first game hated Lucas and didn't really hate Eve as much, but how much they seem to hate Eve in the second one, that, like, poor Lucas, Jesus, I'm surprised you even have stories in this. Because, like, if this is how they're treating Eve, holy fuck. Like, good
God! With each crackling sound, I felt my life being reduced to ashes. No, Eve! Eve! I could see her crying and calling my name. I wanted to comfort her immediately, but my throat could no longer scream. So this was what dying was like. I'd soon die and leave her behind. Still, I don't want to give up. I struggled desperately, stumbling and trying to reach out to her.
So, like, no, instead of, like, and it, obviously, because you can't, like, continue from when he died, we have to relive his dying from his perspective. Because I don't remember, like, if this is the exact same thing, or, like, it's his perspective. Like, I don't remember if we did his perspective as he was dying in the flames or not. But it's like, so we basically just get to relive this ending. Is that what we're saying? Because, like, that's kind of, I don't like that. You know what I mean? Like, no, that's rude. Because I didn't forget this one. Thanks. You know? Did I read that? I don't know.
I struggled desperately, stumbling and trying to reach out to her.
I'm sorry.
Just a little more. I could touch the hand she extended to save me.
How dare you?
The voices echoed in my mind.
How dare you abandon us? You killed us!
Hundreds of dreadful voices. Countless bloodied ghosts clung to me from behind as I extended my blackened hand.
Eve, why?
The biggest shadow whispering my ear was that of my dear partner.
Why didn't you understand my feelings? Why did you let me die alone? Why didn't you understand my feelings? It's like Hugo. That's like them admitting that Hugo was in love with Eve. I'm sorry. I'm taking it. You can fight me. Is death more important than the partner who was with you all those years?
My mind froze from his resentment. That's not...
If not, then don't leave me behind, Eve.
He was a fake. Hugo would never say such a thing. The real Hugo would scold me and say that I needed to do my best to keep her safe. I knew that, but...
Hey, we're each other's partners, right?
I couldn't love my body anymore.
That means you'll die with me now, right?
No, stop. My brother, Hugo. Ah, I see. So this was my punishment for not realizing your true feelings until now.
What? What? And then Eve was like, oh, you've been in love with me the whole time. Shit, I'm an idiot. See? See? Fight me. Come on. I know that, like, if you did not ever ship them or whatever, you could but I'm sorry for those of us who were like, Hugo's absolutely in love with Eve and you can fucking fight me on it. This feels like they were like, oh. They knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing. Listen, if their intent was not Hugo is in love with Eve, they goddamn knew. After seeing everyone, they were like, everyone thinks Hugo's in love with Eve. And they're like, well, let's just put some lines in there in one of the, like, fan disc things. And then, like, just to kind of, like, fuel that fire. And not a poor choice of words. Used them on purpose. Because, one, it's valid. But also, we're in the midst of fire, so we're fueling it, right? Come on. Hi. Just, whatever. It's going to take the opportunity, okay? And, like, you know, they were like, let's just put this in there and, like, you know, whatever it's feeling. Oh, I just really, and then all the people like me who were like, Hugo's absolutely in love with Eve was like, see? They knew what they were doing. They knew exactly what they were doing. They were like, we're already in a fire field. Let's just add more gasoline on here. They absolutely knew what they were doing. Come on. I'm going with it. It's perfect.
The flames of judgment that took the form of a false Hugo turned me into a pile of ash in front of her eyes.
Okay, so we basically just got to have Eve's death from his perspective? Because I don't remember this scene happening. I mean, I remember him dying, but I don't remember it from his perspective like this. And I can't imagine they would do the exact same thing like they did in, you know what I mean, in the Encore route where they do a lot of the same scenes before they kind of split and make it different.
As rainfall extinguished the flames.
Because this is the NCG from the original game. This is it.
Barely alive, I could somehow hear her mad laughter. I can't breathe. I couldn't feel my heartbeat at all. My body felt dead, but for some reason my consciousness miraculously remained.
Eve, you're such a smart person. You're so right. There's no way my curse would affect someone who's already dead.
I couldn't move. Not even a finger.
I do remember her saying that, though. Which means you could spend eternity with me in this state. I need to find a way to preserve your new beautiful body. Oh, and we'll find a place where no one can find us and call it our home. I remember her deludedness saying this shit. I remember that, but again, I don't think it was from his perspective.
I couldn't say anything to her as she went mad from my death.
You'll stay like this forever. Please be by my side until I die, my dear beloved guardian.
She carried my charred body into a dimly lit cave.
This is seriously fucked up.
Her lips touched my dead finger.
Eve. I don't even know what to think of what's happening right now. This is CG. But I'm like, oh my god, it's just his eye. And like, okay, well, he's obviously charred, but not fully dead. Well, it didn't destroy your beautiful face. So, okay, good for us, I guess. But, oh my god.
Inside the dark cave, Spacey continued to kiss my charred body.
Oh, we've literally lost the plot. Oh no.
Her dry kiss was completely different from the kisses she compassionately laid upon my scars that night.
Don't worry. From now on, we'll be together forever. I can no longer kill you. You're the strongest guardian in the world now.
She looked at me with crazed eyes as though it was happy news. No, the life I wanted to give you wasn't this. I thought I told her so, but my death warped the memories she had remaining in her mind. Snap out of it, Spacey! I did my best to yell through the pain, but the fact that I was still conscious couldn't reach her. Perhaps it would have been better if she had followed me. But that would never happen now. I can't ask her to die with me. She chose to love my hollow self in a world devoid of hope.
So he's not really dead. He's just, like, locked in.
This was far crueler than facing judgment.
No one can separate us now. I won't let them. I'll continue to protect you, just as you protected me. I love you. I love you, Eve.
What a heartbreaking confession of love. My lips crumbled apart with each kiss, and I felt her tongue brush against what was left of my mouth.
Oh, there's something so... Oh, no, guys. Oh. It makes me want to cry, and not because it's horrifying. Like, oh, no, girl, you need help.
I was charred and empty since my tongue had since burned to ash. I didn't want this to be the last kiss we shared. I longed for a kiss as warm as days passed. A kiss that would remain in my memory forever. Now, my eternity had finally arrived. It's no use. Starting to lose my vision. As my entire field of vision began to turn black, I began to feel as though the core of my very self was crumbling away. The Grim Reaper had its scythe around my neck to show that my time was up. If I died like this, the pain that made me wish for death would disappear. But I can't leave Spacey like this. I don't want to die yet. If only I could leave one word. As if to prevent such a miracle, a portion of my brain crumbled. I felt as if someone was gloating behind me, saying that no matter how strong my mind was, I couldn't change my body. Ah, I see.
Say, Eve, even though you can't speak anymore, I still love you all the same.
As she succumbs to madness, I'll die without ever being able to give her hope again. I'd meet my end utterly useless.
I'm happy I can live with you forever.
So this is what despair truly is.
Really is the despair ending, so...
I shed a tiny black tear, which rolled down the side of my face unnoticed. I died, leaving my beloved in madness.
Well, that was just unnecessary.
I'm sorry. If only I had more power, I wouldn't have destroyed your soul. I was unable to guide you to the hope of despair, so I won't be able to go to heaven or Hades.
I wasn't able to guide you to hope or despair.
I'll just vanish like the useless soul I am. If only I'd been able to give you my love before you left.
Do these ones, like, actually stay up for a long period of time? Because I feel like the one time I was, like, thinking about an ending and it popped up and I was like, oh, fuck, and then I lost it. I must have clicked something. Yeah, no, okay, it does go away eventually. But, like, that's just so fucking, okay, rude. But to be fair, that ending was also, like, ridiculously awful. You know, him dying, so what were they really gonna do with it? You know what I mean? Devoted beyond salvation. Beyond salvation. Well, I mean... Oh, right. This is going to be so fucking painful to read because it's always going to be like super bright. But I mean, like, what were they going to... Because I was like, oh, we're going to start from somewhere else and the ending's going to be... No, but it's true. Okay, it's just set you up in Eve's perspective for going and dying and then her laughing madly and then... Okay, so I think... I mean, I remember him being charred to death in the field and her being like, oh, no, I can't kill you. I don't remember her taking him into the cave, but, like, I'm sure that happened. Or maybe it didn't. Maybe she just, like, was in the... And it just ended like that. And then that was the addition of, like, then she's gonna drag him all crazy into the fucking cave and then, like, talk to his dead body and, like, whatever. As he's not quite dead yet. He's still in there but can't, like, move. Oh, dear God. Oh, dear God. That was worse. Listen. Mathis's despair end is kind of fucked up, but, like, that's one of those, like, bad endings where you're like, it's bad, but it's good. You know what I mean? Like, there's other endings you're like, this ending is awful, but I kind of like it. You know what I mean? And, like, Mathis's despair ending is that. You know what I mean? It's like, it's awful because he's not Mathis anymore. He thinks he's Camille, and you have to pretend to be Rosalie. But, like, you're still together, and it's kind of fucked up, but there's something kind of like, you're like, I kind of like how fucked up it is. You know what I mean? Like, every once in a while, there's something that's fucked up, and you're like, yeah, I know it's fucked up, but I'm into it. And that's that ending, you know? This one, you're like, no, oh, no, sweetie, no. We need to call all the therapists. Is there anyone in Arpachel that's a therapist? Can we invent that role? And let's just get about 12 of them up in here, okay? Death and salvation. Both were two sides of the same story. There was no correct answer. Both were right and both were wrong. However, one thing was certain. No matter the result, Death and the demon would live together to the end of their days and beyond.
Death, misfortune, and despair you give birth to is mine and mine alone. My life belongs to you forever, Spacey. I swear on the black Lycorises,
And this is a flashback CG to the end CG for the Salvation Realm.
Until my life fades. No, even after I descend to Hades. I will forever remain by my princess's side as her guardian. My promise and my feelings are eternal. Not even Hades' flames can burn them to ashes.
Are we dying again in fire? Because, like, what the fuck? The fuck is with Eve dying in fire? Sorry, bird. I heard resentful voices echoing through the world of death I created. Like, holy shit, this background. In front of my eyes, bodies upon bodies of those I had killed and those who had sacrificed themselves were piled upon one another. How dare you trample over our lives! I'll never forgive you for sacrificing us for your own sake! Their eyes reflected the image of me as death, covered in their blood. I'm sorry. I know I can't be forgiven. How many times had I repeated those words in this world? My heartfelt apologies were meaningless. More bodies fell with thuds beside me. In that pool of blood appeared someone with golden eyes.
It's your fault. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have died.
Hey, Adolphe would never say that. A part of my precious family had been lost. He looked at me with hateful eyes and continued to denounce me. I do not remember Adolphe dying and Eve's fucking good ending. Well, his salvation end. I don't remember this. I obviously don't remember the salvation end at all. I really don't, because I'm like, are we like in the underworld? Are we having a nightmare? What's happening here?
You brought ruin to this country as death.
The illusion of my foster brother scorned me, saying that he wouldn't have died if it weren't for me. He stood up, reaching his arms out to try and kill me.
It's your fault. If it weren't for you...
His bloody hands closed around my neck. I was so consumed by his hatred that I couldn't breathe, when suddenly...
Spacey!
Gentle arms appeared from behind me. Someone pulled me away from the thing taking on the likeness of my brother. Dream?
That's all right. You're okay. I'm here with you, so come on back.
My eyes were filled with tears. A single droplet rolled down and fell onto the bed as my vision cleared. Okay, so we ended up moving into Anko's, cave. Okay, and I don't know if I'm like, I know at one point I remember living in Anko's cave, but I couldn't remember if that actually happened in this route. And, because I think I said that when we were in the encore, I was like, didn't we do that in one of the endings? And then I'm like, I thought there was one where, we had his head. We have Anko's head that we read, and, but I thought that was later on, not quite Eve's route, and then, we were then also in the cave. I remember bits and pieces of things.
Good morning, Spacey.
Have we seen your little robe thing before? Maybe. Eve, my beloved's face appeared in front of me, with eyes reflecting the morning light. How do you get any morning light in a cave? Next to me was a smiling Eve who knew what had just happened.
Did you have another nightmare?
Yes. Eve nodded.
In that case, you should know that the person in front of you is the real me, alive and well.
As I continued to tremble, he gently took me into his arms. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. As it happens, I've also been having my share of terrible nightmares for a while now. Each time I realize the weight of my sins and want to cry.
He raised his head with hope.
But we're still alive. I'll cry and suffer over the sins I've committed, and I'll continue living my sinful life for as long as possible. We'll do this together, okay?
He smiled gently and kissed my cheek. Okay, it's a promise. I sweetly buried my face in Eve's chest. Because I don't know if this is his new outfit, because, Mathis got a new outfit. You know what I mean? So is this Eve's new outfit, which looks like his pajamas? The world we lived in as sinners was very small, but as the worst sinner in this country, being by Eve's side was more than enough. Two months ago, Arpichel was brought to the brink of destruction by a reaper named Spacey. The manifestation of the Lycorises who possess the power of allelopathy, whatever. Allelopathy. It's really fucking difficult. And I don't even know if that's right. I'm just winging it, and it sounds so wrong. And an anemone. Eve saved me by turning his back on the country where I had killed so many. My whole life I wished for death to release me, but what changed my mind was... Oh, okay. Yeah, all right. I do remember this. He's like, here's some flowers in the field while it's on fire.
Please marry me.
That he risked his life to ask for my hand in marriage.
I love you, Spacey. No matter who you are, I'll always love you in the death that dwells inside you. So please, if you don't want your life, give it to me. I offer my very self to you for as long as I have left.
My response was, I love you, Eve. A crime that left an inescapable trail of blood. I love you so much, Eve. I want you, my beloved, to take my cursed life. We decided to live in suffering, bearing the sins we committed together. I was to live with the one born to love death. We'd gotten accustomed to living in this hideout that Uncle provided, but Eve and we continued to suffer through dreams like the one I had earlier, depicting shadows of those we had sacrificed. I'm just going to say, at least in Mathis's, we went different places and did different things. I don't know if I can handle like 5 hours just sitting in this cave having the same conversation over and over, is all I'm saying. So, like, if this is just going to be it the whole time, I hope it's not as long as Mathis's was, is all I'm saying. Because, like, holy shit.
Do you regret it? Accepting my proposal?
No. I shook my head as I got up from the bed. I decided the moment that I accepted your proposal that while I might feel despair, I would never feel regret. And you'll always wake me up whenever I have a nightmare, right?
Of course. I'm your guardian and at the same time, I am your future husband, right?
His bright, bold smile quickly cast away the shadow in my heart. Thank you very much, dear future husband. I'll also wake you up if you ever have a nightmare, okay?
Hearing you call me your husband feels a bit ticklish.
Eve! I quickly held Eve and rubbed his back as he covered his mouth with his hand.
That's all right. It's only a cough.
His hand wasn't covered in blood, but I quietly gave him a hug. Eve looked at me and frowned sadly.
I'm sorry, Spacey. Soon I won't even be able to hug you back.
He spoke with a pained expression. Please don't apologize. I'm the one who made you who you are now. Did we have to, like, drag him here and he couldn't, like, wasn't he, like, partially burned or something? Did he lose the ability to walk or something? Why do I feel like that happened? I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. My sins could never be erased. Eve's chromosomes were tainted with toxins from choosing me, which meant, okay, so he's just dying from the curse, so. He would die in the next few months. Okay, well, that's gonna be a fun end to this. Should have just left it where it was, maybe. With little time remaining, all I could do was tend to his needs as he grew weaker by the day.
I can't say I'm doing well, but I'm still happy you're here by my side, Spacey.
I sighed with relief as his breathing calmed and he rubbed my back as if consoling me. And I'm happy you're by my side, Eve. I'll always be here with you until the very end. And then also, if we're just going to sit in the cave and watch him slowly die, I hope they don't make it like 4 or 5 hours, because it's like, please don't subject me to that. Like, that's just really mean. As soon as you leave for Hades, I'll follow after you.
Yeah, we'll have our wedding down in Hades then.
I mean, unless we're going to do that, where we're going to die and then we see our afterlife together, then sure, okay.
I can't wait to see you smiling in a beautiful dress.
I suddenly heard water splash in the fishbowl next to us. We have Puffy? Even I look at the bowl to see Puffy, puffed up, one size larger, staring at us. I'm sorry. It looks like Puffy's also going to be with us until the very end. We're not killing the fish! Puffy will set you free into the ocean. Eve chuckled in response.
'Cause there's no one left to take care of Puffy after we die. So, maybe we should just prepare it as a tasty meal.
Upon hearing that, Puffy quickly looked away. Well, maybe we can come to a decision later. I mean, it does look like it's getting to grow bigger. Like it's going to grow bigger. I tried to change the subject so we could avoid talking about eating Puffy. How about after you die, before I off myself, I dump Puffy in the ocean so he can go find his friends? Anyway, are you comfortable wearing that? At my question, Eve smiled brightly.
That's pretty nice. Being able to adjust the sash around the waist makes it as good as nightwear, too.
I mean, it looks like a robe, so.
I never expected this wafuku from my ancestors' diary to be so useful. That you were actually able to sew one makes you the most amazing of all.
I'm glad to hear that. It's all worth it to see you happy, Eve. Yeah, so that's his new outfit. Okay. Because, like, Mathis got a new outfit. Eve should get a new one. They should all get new outfits, right? We don't, but All of Eve's previous clothes were stained with blood and no longer usable, so he now spent his days in the clothes I made for him. What he was wearing right now was an outfit depicted in the Drifter's diary. It was very convenient since the size could easily be adjusted. Most convenient of all was that if someone were to happen upon us, he might be able to evade recognition and pretend to be someone else. Most convenient of all is it's basically a nightgown, so I could just heft it up and go at him. Wait, what? There's no pants to take off, no belts, no buckles. Nothing, not too much going on in the way. Really? Not at all? You're just going to wait till you die? Okay. I'm just saying. He'd probably fall up. We already know that he's... Okay, never mind. That's disgusting. He's slowly dying, and we already saw in his encore ending how he was slowly, piece by piece, falling apart. And that is not what you want happening while you're trying to have some happy times with your future husband, is that bits and pieces and chunks of him are falling apart. Like, that's... So, you know what? Never mind. I'm gonna go vomit. I'll be back in an hour. It's a good thing I haven't eaten recently.
Now that I think about it, I remember Grandpa wearing something similar.
So that means you and your grandpa have matching outfits now. You match your... Well, that's what happens when you start getting old. And literally, you're at your end time, so you're very old now, to be fair. All of 20.
Yeah, I'm really happy.
Eve heaved himself up from bed. He then spun around once as if to show off his clothes with pride. Eve, you need to stay still. Yeah, look! Oh, God, it looks so cool! You can only see the top of it, and you're like, okay, because it does look like his nightshirt. You know what I mean? Like, it looks like his nightgown, and he's just wearing, like, the cool robe thing over it. But, like, the robe part of it is really fucking cool. You know what I mean? But that absolutely looks like his nightshirt. Like, when he was wearing his night... We've seen him in his nightgown before, and that's why I was like, okay, that's his old... But, like, no, the robe part of it, like, with the snatched waist and the belt thing, like, that's really fucking cool. I like it. I want one.
Don't worry. I was just a little cough earlier, but I'm actually feeling good today.
Really?
Really. I'd never lie to you.
I know you wouldn't lie to me, but I'm still worried because you always put on a brave face. Remember when you told me you were fine just before you coughed up blood and collapsed?
I guess you got me there. But I did feel like I was doing fine back then. Anyway, I want to go and check on the Lycoris field before I get too weak again. After all, the flowers still have a mission to absorb the island's misfortune.
I saw so much strength in Eve's eyes that it was hard to believe his time was running out. I can never sway you when it comes to the Lycorises. In that case, let's go together. I do also want to check on them. I hope that my family of black flowers with the same powers as I had were still blooming with life. I acted as Eve's crutch as we slowly took our time to finally reach the center of the field. After the incident, many Lycorises were lost, but many survived the fire and were still absorbing the toxins that tainted the country. Eve came to check on the flowers when his health permitted, wanting to fulfill his role as guardian until the very end.
Yep, looks like they're all growing well. I'm glad I haven't been able to... Oh, I'm glad. I haven't been able to tend to them in this state.
Eve slowly moved away from me, then crouched to the ground.
Thank you very much for blooming so beautifully today. Even if you lose your powers to absorb the misfortune of this land, I still care deeply about you, my precious family, for bringing me to Spacey. Even if she and I both pass away, please live long and full lives.
He whispered in a gentle voice as he rubbed the petals of one of the flowers. The Lycorises swayed in the wind as if responding to him. I followed and crouched down beside him. I'm sure they'll be fine. They're doing their best to fulfill the promise between your ancestor and the very kind death. Despite being despised by the people, they still manage to bloom beautifully.
You're right. I'll trust that they'll do well, even if we can't find a new guardian.
We turned our backs on this country for our own desires, but that didn't mean we wanted these Lycorises to wilt and die. Mother and Mathis and the many others we held dear were still here, and we wanted them to live as long as they could. Eve took another look around at the Lycorises before he lay down on his back. Eve, are you okay?
Don't worry. I just wanted to lie down for a bit. Let's take a break, Spacey.
Eve looked up into the sky like a cat basking in the sunlight. He then looked at me with gleaming eyes full of hope. Oh, I wanted to say that we should head back so he could rest, but looking at his eyes made me feel hesitant. Well, it is warm out today. After pondering for a bit, well, if you don't mind. I moved close to Eve and lay on the ground. The breeze was warm and comforting.
Welcome to my special bed.
It really is special. Much nicer and cozier than any luxurious bed. Eve took my hand and gently brought it to his cheek.
You're always so warm, Spacey. Your warmth is so comforting, especially since my body's colder now. I want to hold you in my arms forever.
I'm happy to warm you up whenever you want.
Really? Well, if you say so.
Eve looked happy and hugged me tightly. It tickles.
I won't stop, you know. You just said it was okay, so I'm holding you to your word.
Well, how about this then? I giggled and hugged Eve back.
You can actually hug me even more tightly if you want.
The grass rustled with our movements. We fawned upon each other. We teased each other, savoring the warmth between us. As if it were a secret weapon, Eve kissed me on the neck. Eve, that's not fair! I could hardly bear it as I squirmed beside him, and I finally burst into laughter.
Of course. After all, I'm the cowardly devil who robbed this country of its salvation.
Really, Eve. The time we spent was so dear and precious that I hope it stays like this until our death. A wish I knew wouldn't come true.
Spacey.
Eve's tone shifted, probably sensing what was on my mind. I quickly put on a smile so that I wouldn't worry him unnecessarily. Don't worry, I'm ready for anything. Does Anko bring us, like, food and stuff? Because how do we get food in the cave? Because, like, Eve can't go out because he's too sick to begin with. But, like, I also can't go out. So, like, who's bringing us food? Adolphe's dead. I accept the pain of losing you as my punishment. I will live until the very end in despair. Just as Eve told me to live with him in spite of my despair.
Okay.
Eve nodded in support instead of questioning my resolve.
I'm not able to preach hope to you anymore, but instead, as the guardian of the Lycoris and the husband of death, no matter what suffering I might endure, I promise you that I'll stay by your side. So, I want you to take all the time I have left.
He gave me the same oath that he did back then. No matter how weak he was now, Eve's words were bold and strong. His voice was filling my heart with warmth rather than sorrow. Yes, I will. Which was why I gave my beloved guardian my word. But in turn, will you also accept my cursed life in Hades? If I lose sight of you there, I'll feel an even worse despair. Eve smiled with acceptance.
I'll go and get you when the time comes. I'll also bring a bouquet of Lycoris noirs for you.
I can't wait. I sat up, confident that Eve would keep true to his word. We should head back before you get cold.
I don't wanna.
Eve pouted and rolled back onto the ground. Eve,
It's rare I feel as well as I do today. I want to stay here with you for longer.
well, I felt we needed to head back so that he could rest in bed before he lost all his energy, but
Please.
it was difficult to be firm with Eve when he was like this. No means no! No fair! I feel like no fair. No means no is so mean and no fair. You're teasing me. Yeah, no fair. No fair. You're too good at being sweet.
Only to you, Spacey. I'm not like this with anyone else.
You don't talk to anyone else, so valid.
Are you saying you don't like me like this?
I'm just weak to it because I love you. Just this once, all right?
Yeah.
I finally gave up and once again lied down next to him on the grass. I can't believe this whole time we were having a cute little, like, cloud gazing moment curled up in the grass together in this field. We don't have a cute CG for it. Rude.
You always tell me I'm sweet, but I also think you're really cute when you're being sweet to me, you know.
Really?
Yeah. When I see you push past your shyness to show your love for me, it makes me love you even more.
It happened so naturally. We kissed as the Lycorises watched on. They're like, woo.
Sorry my kiss is so cold.
Eve was concerned that his low body temperature felt uncomfortable, but to me, the love that Eve gave me was always warm. It's so strange. When we finally bonded, my feelings were overflowing, but each time he touched me, more and more, my feelings of love for him grew even stronger. Don't bite, you're being nasty. You're being mean. Eve and I spent a peaceful moment surrounded by the Lycoris. It didn't take long for us to fall asleep. By the time we woke up, the sun was about to set. I stood up with Eve so that we could head back before it got too cold. But before we went back to the cave, we decided to visit our loved ones' graves. We put our hands together and gave our prayer to our loved ones sleeping in peace. Adolphe, Hugo, I still didn't know what to say to them, even now. Should it be I'm sorry? Or thank you? I probably didn't have the right to say it. I probably didn't have the right to say either to... Oh, I didn't have the right to say either to them. Okay. I looked up to try and hold back my tears when I noticed Eve had just finished praying, too.
Did you talk to Adolphe and Hugo?
Yes, I told them everything that happened today. And I talked to them about how I can't get my emotions figured out yet. I placed my hand on my chest and told them of the emotions stirring inside.
Same here.
I mean, I remember how Hugo died. I don't remember how Adolphe died. Eve's eyes narrowed as he looked at the grave with sadness. Ow, bird.
Appreciation, repentance, regret. I feel a whole lot of emotions, both good and bad.
You're just very fucking fidgety lately. You know that, right?
And I've decided to live on without turning my back on my conflicting emotions. I'll continue coming to their graves to find the words I want to express to them until I lose the strength to walk. I need to do this and not turn my eyes away from the sins I've committed.
Me too. In place of a bouquet, he took out some paper flowers that we folded together and placed them upon the grave. They're so pretty. Origami, was it? The Eastern crafts you've taught me are always so fun and interesting. Origami! An Eastern craft of folding paper into various shapes, such as animals and plants.
I'm glad you like 'em. I remember how I used to make all sorts of things back when my grandfather first taught me. They'll never wilt, so they're the perfect flowers to lay on their grave.
I agree. I'm sure Adolphe and Hugo will be happy with them. After putting the flowers in the small vase to ensure they wouldn't fly away, we slowly moved away from the grave. It's so hard to leave them here.
Yeah.
Each time we prayed, we felt how great our loss was. The pain and sorrow were unbearable. I wish I could see them again. I held back from throwing myself onto the grave and clinging to it.
I don't think either of them would want us to spend our lives standing here.
The only ones who would were the false images of them that my guilt created.
Let's go.
Okay. I dried my tears. I then held Eve by the hand and took the first step to leave their resting place. Yes, we would keep on walking, even if what lay ahead was destruction. We would walk confidently and brazenly, beside our beloved. So please, watch over us. I lived life to the fullest. I want to become someone you could say that to at the very end. That was the way we would conclude our lives. We returned safely back to the cave, but Eve's health quickly deteriorated. Tired from a high fever, he got into bed and quickly fell asleep. He's getting weaker by the day. I wet a towel with cold water and placed it on his forehead before holding his hand as he slept with a feverish red complexion. If only I could suffer in Eve's place. As such a thing would never happen, all I could do was keep watch over his health. I thought about our situation with frustration when I heard the sound of footsteps outside. Anko? Immediately I was on alert. My first thought was that someone had discovered our hideout, but I then heard faint knocking at the entrance of the cave. Someone's going to be bringing us food, so. After making sure that Eve was all right, I walked out to the front. Oh,
Hello there, Spacey.
it's Mathis and Salome. That I didn't expect, but okay. Did Anko, peace out? Maybe? I don't remember. We brought you food and medicine. I assume you're low on supplies by now. Standing in front of me were two visitors I was glad to welcome here as guests. Mother, Mathis! I was happy to see them, but was careful to maintain some physical distance.
I'm sorry for coming so late at night. It's just that coming here during the day could attract unwanted attention.
No, please don't worry. We're actually grateful that you would go to all this trouble for us. Eve and I were public enemies to not only the citizens of the country, but to the royal family as well. Even so, the two of them had continued to come here so we could at least have basic necessities. I'm sorry we couldn't correct the public's misunderstanding. That lout made it very clear that the deaths weren't because of you two, but many saw Eve go to the Institute, so the public isn't convinced. Please, you don't have to apologize. It's true that I've killed people as death. If Mother and the rest kept trying to defend us, it would only reflect badly on them.
But please don't say such a thing. You two aren't criminals to me in the slightest. You're both my precious friends.
Thank you very much. Your words mean so much to us. Mathis, please put yourself first to make sure you're safe. Please be there for when Jean returns. Mathis didn't respond, likely because I just reminded him of his butler. I suppose Jean is still being held at the Institute?
Yes. I haven't gotten any details about him yet, but from what I heard from the guards, it seems Jean was conducting illegal experiments underneath the mansion.
The investigation's being conducted by science, so I assume he isn't being falsely charged, but it is somewhat concerning that the crime he committed has not been made public.
Even so, I'll still be waiting for Jean to return.
Yeah, because Cyan's like, whoa, 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 Cyan's getting his help.
After all, he's an important part of my family.
Of course, I'm sure Jean's worried about you too, Mathis. Regardless of the crime he committed, I hoped he wouldn't be separated from his caring master forever, but is Science still conducting research on the toxins? Who knows? I haven't heard from him recently. He's probably holed up in the new office he rebuilt at the Institute. When he lost to Eve, he also lost the passion he used to have, so there's a possibility he'll quit his profession. Are we talking about the same Cyan? I tilted my head in disbelief, since it was something I couldn't imagine happening. Good riddance, I say. Serves him right for killing my precious son and his friend. I hope he lives the rest of his pathetic life as a miserable old man. Well, he's going to be a miserable hot man. And, I mean, that, Okay, so I'm assuming he killed Dahut then. Or no, he must have killed Adolphe, and she must be talking about Adolphe. Well, it's just because I know she's fucking Dahut's mom, but, does she know that Dahut's her son at this point? I don't remember, so I'm assuming she means killed Adolphe, but,
But if that's the case, then Arpachel would fall to ruin with the loss of reliver technology.
As Mathis expressed his concern, he set down a paper bag on top of the supplies. What's this?
It's an ingredient that's rarely found, even at the marsh. Eve seems to like this sort of thing. If you don't mind, Spacey, perhaps you can serve this in your next meal. I mean, Eve might not be in the best health, but I'm sure he can eat this.
Thank you so very much. I'm sure Eve will love it. Despite my heartfelt thanks, Mathis had a sad expression on his face. As I wondered why...
So, is Eve's situation getting worse?
His quiet voice was almost drowned out by the sound of rolling waves in the distance. All right. Part of me is like, let's get our bad ending now and then go back and start and do our regular because we only have like 10 minutes left, so it'd be perfect. And if it's only 2 minutes, then awesome. But we're not going to do that. We're going to have like a 5-minute part, and that's okay. Answer honestly. Yes. I decided to tell them the truth. If nothing changes, I think Eve will pass away within half a year. When the day comes, I'll follow him. Why? His youthful voice was filled with a hopeless sadness. Why do people as kind as you two have to go through all this? Even if you were the real death, it doesn't change the fact that you two were the ones who uncovered the truth behind the curse. With his fist clenched, Mathis shouted with emotions he could no longer control. Mathis, if only I could at least be by your side until the very end. But we're normal humans, which means being next to you two will only complicate things more, right? He was right. Staying near me when my allelopathy, was still active was a death sentence. The toxins I emitted would certainly taint Mathis's chromosomes, just like with all the others, and he doesn't have Jean to plug him in and boot him back up, so. That's right, but I appreciate the thought, Mathis. The best I could do was express my thanks. Thank you for still seeing me as a friend, despite everything. Unable to hold back his tears anymore, Mathis suddenly began to cry. Aww. Mother patted his back, then asked, Is there really nothing that can be done? Yes, I've discussed this with Eve, so you don't have to call a doctor for us. But as we discussed before, once I pass away, I'd appreciate it if you could please handle my body as needed. Mother's face warped with pain. What a terrible thing to ask your mother! I'm sorry, but I just want to make sure that no one tries to use my body to create clones that could go through what I'm going through now. Hearing my response, Mother looked away from me for a moment. After thinking in silence, she then let out a huge sigh. Understood. I promise I'll do what you want, especially since it's rare that you ask for anything. If that miserable man somehow tries to use your body, I will make sure to protect my precious daughter and her husband with my life. Mother, I held myself back from throwing my arms around her in a tight embrace. I couldn't risk taking away even a second of her life by going nearer. It seemed that Mother understood what I was thinking. As a mother, I promised that I'd love you no matter what, but I admit this is painful. My dear daughter's so brave, yet I can't even embrace her for her decision. Yeah, you can because you're a reliver, so you know what I mean. I couldn't hold back my tears anymore. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I'm such a terrible daughter. I was taking her daughter away from her. I was repaying the one who taught me love with despair. I I did my best to speak up. I'm so happy I could be your daughter. Thank you for my life, for giving me family. Thank you, Mother. Tears began to flow from Mother's eyes. And thank you for being a part of my life, Spacey. I was truly happy to have such a kind child be part of my family. We looked at each other from a distance we couldn't close. It looks like we're all crying now. We came to try and cheer you two up, but I feel more pathetic than ever. As do I, but it's good to have nights like this sometimes. I agree. After all, there will come a day when we won't be able to cry like this anymore. We felt the pain of our imminent departure. In response to that pain, we shed a few tears. The moon also seemed to tremble slightly as it shone its gentle light upon us. Now we're Eve.
The time I spent with my grandfather, the moments I spent with my friends. I can remember every moment vividly even now.
Ah, sorry. Oh, Dolphin Hugo. No.
Money had expressed how pitiful and tragic my life was, but my life was blessed by the many people I got to know. That I can say without a doubt. I wouldn't let anyone tell me my life was filled with misfortune, even if I end up in Hades. Which was why I'm so sorry, but it's really no use trying to kill me.
Poor soul. Your existence in itself is a sin. You could be free from this if you die here and now. I don't know who's saying that.
The bodies repeated those refrains as they grabbed at my feet.
Oh, nightmares.
I'm really sorry.
I mean, I figured he was having a nightmare because he's in a dream right now, but like, I'm like, who's saying it? Just a bunch of random people.
I gave my heartfelt apology as my face and my body burned. Pain that felt too real to be a dream. I hadn't told Spacey I'd been having this dream every night. I made a decision to live with this suffering and never forget the sins I committed. But I won't let myself die here alone. I decided to die as Spacey keeps watch over me. I was still okay. My mind was still very clear. I'm still alive. I can still live. I can still fight. It was still too early for me to die. Surrounded by flames, I swept their hands away and headed toward the light.
They're actually heading toward the light!
I felt hot.
It's a bug's life right there. Don't go toward the light! But it's so pretty!
It hurt. Maybe they were right that I could finally be free if I died already. But even if I have to endure suffering unbearably beyond belief, I will live through this life with all my might until my last breath. I can do that with her by my side. It was then I sensed something. Someone looking at me from behind.
We're not going to find out who? You're just going to leave that a mystery? Really? Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, I see what you're doing. You're like, he's not going to live much longer. But in order to make this something aside from like, we just sat here and watched, we're going to draw it out and like go back and forth. Okay, all right. I see what you're trying to do. Pad the runtime. Okay. Because there's really not much, like at least with Mathis, you had the whole figuring out Camille and Rosalie and all of that. And then we can just continue it after that, like whatever. But, okay. Oh, this is like, we have got just sitting in a cave waiting for Eve to die. So you got to make it interesting somehow. And like, so far it hasn't been bad. Like, we did the cute little scene, like where we're hanging out in the field. We had the little scene with Mother and Mathis. And then they put that little like, ooh, who's he dreaming about? Okay. And then they're just gonna, but they're definitely trying to like fluff it out as much as they can. I don't know if it's going to bite them in the ass where you're going to be like, okay, it's getting boring now, move along with it, or if they're going to be able to keep up this momentum. We're like, okay, I'm with you right now, sure. I don't know how you're going to get like 5 hours out of it, like whatever. Eve awoke as I was preparing dinner. Eve, how are you feeling?
My head's a bit foggy.
You've been sleeping a longer time. Maybe your fever hasn't gone down yet. Oh, you've been sleeping a long time. I can't read. I placed the palm of my hand on Eve's damp forehead. His body was usually cold, but now I could feel heat under his skin. I knew it. I made some soup using ingredients I got from Mathis. Once you're done eating, we'll have you take some medicine and go to sleep again.
Mathis?
Yeah, he came to visit with Mother. I explained to him what happened earlier as I served him some soup. Eve quietly took a spoonful from the bowl, then...
I see. I wish I'd been able to greet them. Lucas gave me words of support during the fight back then, too. I guess in the end, those who were left behind have to suffer the most.
I agree. I also feel bad for Mother. But that didn't mean the ending would change. The best we can do now is not be a burden. It's scary to think of what might happen if people found out that Mother and Mathis are still connected to us.
Yeah, we need to be careful that no one spots us when we're outside either.
Ever since the incident, many had distanced themselves even further from the Lycoris field, but we couldn't let our guard down. We needed to avoid the field being set on fire again. Oh, that's a decent place to end it. So anyway, we will continue the going to sleep ritual next time. So I will see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.